In Iraq and Afghanistan to the fight against ISIL in Syria and Yemen, the United States Armed Forces continue to engage in conflicts around the world. In fact, the U.S. spends more on its military than the next top 8 countries combined, including China. According to a study by the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, the U.S. spent $618 billion, that is, on its military in 2013, including $6.2 billion in total arms exports. Today, the military-industrial complex is an integral part of the U.S. economy. CCTV's Jim Spellman reports.
Eisenhower left office in 1961 with a warning.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
54 years later, U.S. defense and related spending eats up about 19% of the U.S. budget, rivaling mandatory U.S. spending on the Social Security retirement plan and health care programs. Recent wars and the ongoing battle against terrorism led to a spike in spending.
So America's at a crossroads. We must define the nature and scope of this struggle, or else it will define us. We have to be mindful of James Madison's warning that no nation could preserve its freedom in the midst of continual warfare.
Spending has fallen as major combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan were brought to a halt, but the fight against terrorist groups like ISIL continues, and the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned of has grown beyond the tanks and aircraft of traditional war.
Homeland security programs have spread in the years since the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. NSA spying, drones, cyber attacks have all added new facets to modern warfare. It's led some critics to wonder if the mere existence of these massive programs has led to a state of near perpetual war.
Morris Davis is a retired U.S. Air Force colonel.
Anytime there's a dispute, anywhere in the world, it seems like our first option out of the chute is we got to bomb it or invade it or take some kind of military action against it.
The U.S. stations about 200,000 troops in almost 150 countries around the world, ready to act with overwhelming force or lead international coalitions, as with the fight against the Islamic State.
For better or worse, we have become largely the world's policemen. We're like the big kid on the playground.
But that sometimes means military action, or at least a show of force, comes first, diplomacy second.
We ask for 1% of the federal budget, 1% of the total budget of the United States of America goes into everything we do abroad. But I absolutely guarantee you that well more than 50% of the history of this era will be written off that 1% and off the things we do or don't choose to do in terms of foreign affairs.
As the military-industrial complex has grown, it has become about much more than national security.
In some ways, the defense budget is also a social program.
With 1.4 million active duty service members, 700,000 civilian employees, and another 1.1 million reservists, the U.S. military is the country's biggest employer. Thousands more work for the CIA, NSA, DHS, and other agencies, and all those organizations buy stuff, lots of stuff, uniforms, weapons, vehicles, pumping money into local economies around the U.S. and making it politically difficult to rein them in.
You never hear a congressman say, shut down the plant in my area and put people out of work. So it perpetuates keeping these programs going.
Programs that may make war easier to wage and peace difficult to attain. Jim Spellman, CCTV, Washington.